In the top right-hand corner of the map, it is the red Terran Hunter. Why is he not making... What? He made a supply depot before an SCV. Alright, we are in uncharted waters already. With the supply depot before SCV build into gas first and barracks before another SCV. So this guy has actually... Like, I don't want to be one of those jerks who's needlessly nitpicking what a player does. But in this case, he has actually significantly put himself behind. He's already 2 workers behind at 1 minute into the game. That's a really big deal. So anyway. So Bajiggles apparently only lives for the supply depot before SCV type build and the mass carriers. If anything, that speaks to Bajiggles' character. More than anything. More than it speaks to this, to Hunter's skill, it speaks to Bajiggles' character. He's a rat bastard. Anyway. On eXile side of the map, got a hatchery finishing up. About 80% of the way done. Gases mining should be right around 75 or so by the time this pool is finished. So he will most likely be going into speed shortly thereafter. And we actually have 3 barracks. So this is going to be a Reaper cheese, ladies and gentlemen. Let me say this. Reaper cheese, a 3 barracks Reaper cheese does not work with a second gas that is this late. So there's actually going to be a significant lull in production time on the Reapers. Let's see. You know what though? Now that I think about it, no, I mean, he's going to be late on this Rax. This Rax is not going to be able to produce. Yeah, this Rax is done and can't yet produce. So there is a definite delay there. But with that insanely early gas, he almost made up for it a little bit. Almost, but not quite. Anyway, from this point forward, producing 3 Reapers at a time shouldn't be that big of a deal, but he's going to lose some Reapers immediately right now. eXile gets him sandwiched in right from the get-go. A couple of Lings do go down, but yeah, as a Terran, you cannot be losing Reapers like that. Still no orbital. Lots and lots of minerals are floating right now, so not the best position for a Terran player to find himself, trust me. Factory. So we've got 3 racks on a factory before an orbital. He really should morph this into an orbital. You might fool the rest with that, Bajiggles, but I'm on to you, man. You can't be perfect. As long as you're not in DOD, you can't be perfect. As a matter of course. Oh, second factory going down. All right, at this point, I'm really confused. In a starport. So we've got 3. I don't even think this is. Again, I don't want to disparage people too much. I hate when casters do that. All right, so I'm trying not to say anything unnecessarily negative, but what I will say is this. All right, the orbital is just now coming down, but the orbital is being started after 3 barracks, 2 factories, and a starport. So Hunter has basically guaranteed himself that he can't play a macro game here. He absolutely has to do significant damage off of 1 base, or he will outright lose the game. Now, the one thing that he kind of has going for him, kind of, is that with his opening, with his Mass Reaper opening, he has forced a lot of speedlings out of exile, and there aren't nearly as many drones as there normally would be at this stage of the game. So that's the one positive that I can find here for Hunter. But yeah, this is actually the most infrastructure I think I've ever seen off of one base for a Terran. And this so to be fair, I didn't see he didn't have a border. He was playing his placement, so he might not be Gold League. eXile is definitely a much better player. We can just already tell that already. Third base going down now at the same time that Hunter is getting his natural. As we can see here, Hunter is not even close to able to produce off of all of these buildings. Supply block didn't help him either, but even if he wasn't supply blocked, he just doesn't have, you don't have enough mining off of one base to produce off of all of these structures. Last placement was in silver. Oh, he's unranked? Okay. Yeah, see, that makes more sense because, like, Gold Leaguers aren't this bad. From what I've seen, Gold Leaguers, at least, like, they kind of know a general build order. Their execution isn't good, but they know, like, the beginning of a build order. Like, they can do a Reaper expansion. Their follow-up will be kind of weird. But Gold Leaguers, I've never seen a Gold Leaguer do an SCV, or I'm sorry, a supply depot before an SCV, and then a refinery. So yeah, this is not gold level. But all right, so eXile said that he had actually his last placement was in silver, which makes silver 3 as a matter of fact, which makes a lot more sense. So we do have a Spire coming down here for eXile, who is now really pulling away in the economic department. 3 bases, 41 drones to 28 SCVs. This is a somewhat frightening bioforce, I will say that. eXile will be, he will need to be careful with how he handles this. The Banelings are not morphed in just yet. So, as I said, I mean, this is basically a one, or not basically, I mean, it really was a one base all in. It wasn't punished, so he's been allowed to get up a second base. But in terms of infrastructure and economy, this was a one base all in. So there are enough units, or I should say there are like the corresponding amount of units from a one base all in here, pushing in to eXile's natural. You still do have to take this seriously, regardless of how suboptimal or inefficient a build is. If it produces a lot of units, you have to take it seriously to some degree. Overseer being morphed in. These Widow Mines should be cleaned up pretty quickly. Trade slightly favoring Hunter, but without a base being taken out here, Hunter is really on a timer. I don't even think... Yeah, he has not even started combat shields, by the way. So, once upgrades start kicking in for eXile, it's just going to get uglier and uglier as this game goes on. Mutalisks up. Getting a bit overeager going into the Marines. One Mutalisk does go down, but pretty fast response there from eXile. Terran forces retreating to the natural. Looks like eXile does want to put on some pressure now. Medevacs going ahead, Mutalisks going ahead trying to pick off some Medevacs. So during this time, eXile should be looking to drone up really hard when he knows he has the Terran back in his base. These Mutalisks see the fact that the Marines are chasing them, so this is the perfect cue for eXile to now go and get a really big round of drones, especially since his economy needs it. Almost no saturation here at the natural. No saturation whatsoever at the third. We are getting a drone transfer now, so this is going to be fully saturated. This is still a bit oversaturated. But okay, there we go. There's that round of drones. Upgrades coming down as well. That's one of the nicest things about Mutalisk Harassment. If you can get damage, great. But almost as important or almost as successful of a campaign is when the Mutalisks can just keep the main army at home and lets the Zerg do what they want back in their own base. And for Zerg, as we all know, Zerg is really powerful in the late game and is, I think most people would agree Zerg is superior to Terran Bio in the late game. It allows Zerg to get up to that more powerful Hive Tech army. Bio's biggest strength, as is well known, is in the mid game. So if Bio is spending the mid game at home defending, then the Bio player is losing his best window to win the game. This is interesting. We actually have drops going around both sides of the map, but eXile, in typical fashion, that took me off. Took me by surprise. I was about to say eXile, in typical fashion, has really good map vision. Actually spots both of these drops. As long as he was paying attention on the minimap, this Overlord did see that medevac. The Proxy Spire is going to spot, but also be spotted. I don't know how I didn't see that until just now. Hunter boosting back to get it. He's viciously supply blocked. But to be fair, with the drops, he has also managed to supply block eXile. Picked off a lot of Overlords there. Spire's going to go down, but another one is immediately being remade. eXile is taking a fourth base at the forward location, which will allow him to push really hard. Third base about to complete for Hunter. 1-1 already complete for eXile and nearly complete for Hunter. Double drop does get in here. If it's focused down, he probably could take this, but he would lose the whole army for it, so it might be the better decision just to pull back, but he should get the heck out of there. Mutalisks do take down a medevac outside of the fourth. And two more going down. That actually hurts quite a bit. But yeah, two more going down. Two coming in for the Zerg ahead of the Terran. That's always really nice for Zerg. Got a bit oversaturated here. And still no mining going on at this third base. And that's definitely hurting. The drone count is actually really, really low. Just had a wave complete there. But it's been quite a while that this base has been up and hasn't been utilized yet. So definitely something to keep in mind. Getting a liftoff forced on this base is quite nice for eXile. Fourth base is mining. But as I said, yeah, this base not quite yet. It looks like that big round of drones was sent here to the fourth. I would like to see these drones pulled off and sent down here to the third. Hunter retaking this base, and my goodness, you think he doesn't want to be attacked here? Especially by Mutalisks. Liberators coming around the right side of the map. They're not really going to find much damage here. But there isn't too much anti-air, and as much as Liberators suck, and trust me, they absolutely suck against air units. They're basically worthless against air units. But as much as they suck, there isn't too much. Okay, especially with this. So that's exactly what I'm talking about. If the Zerg player micros at all. There was a nice split there from eXile. If the Zerg player micros at all, he will not lose anything. The only way for Liberators to kill air units is if the air units are completely clumped into a ball. So good job there by eXile, running in, splitting his units, taking out the Liberators. Yeah, the Widow Mines are ridiculous. They're straight up ridiculous. That's a crazy amount of Widow Mines. And the fact that they're all just sitting back here protecting the base. 14 Widow Mines. Yeah, there are more Widow Mines than Mutalisks. Not every day that you see that. And there's probably a reason for that. But starting to get up to a nice bank here, nice sized bank for eXile. It should be put into something soon. I don't think we have an Ultralisk Cavern just yet. We do not. Are on Hive Tech, of course. The Marines, the combat shieldless Marines, I should point out, it still hasn't finished. Oh my goodness, those Widowmine shots were huge. Every stim hurts. I do want to point that out. Every stim really hurts when you're dealing with combat shieldless Marines. Combat shields have finally finished now. These Banelings are actually not going to complete. Some of them do complete, but only to be killed by Widowmines. And suddenly, eXile is actually in a bit of a predicament. He does have 3/3 coming in. He's got Adrenal Glands. But the late Hive Tech, what I would normally say should be Ultralisks, or on this map, I think Greater Spire is probably better because of how many choke points there are. But that late Hive Tech is going to hurt him here. And by the way, this actually helped eXile. Hunter knocking this down actually helped eXile a lot. He doesn't have to worry about that push. That bought some more time. So, eXile, be sure to put Hunter on your Christmas card list and send him a big thank you. The Widowmines, though, yeah, the Widowmines have just been nuts. Marines coming in here. They're going to kill a lot of drones. If they focus them down, they could take the base. If that is focus fired, looks like neither will happen. Medevacs do boost away. This is starting to become a really scrappy game. Yeah, Hunter's realizing now, oh crap, I probably shouldn't have knocked that down. Let me get back in there. We could have a quasi-base trade here with, if the bio pushes in at eXile's natural. Oh, it looks like he's actually going for a surround. Or not, but I was going to say, if eXile goes into the third and Hunter goes into the natural, we could have a base trade, but it looks like eXile wants to pull back and defend this location. The base does go down. These Marines are very, very low in health. By the way, still no Baneling speed. That really hurts. That hurts big time. Macro hatch going down. These Widowmines are going to get off some more shots on the drones. Hopefully for eXile's sake, they just hit one at a time. Nothing too significant. Yeah, that one was decent. Some more drones going down. This is actually getting quite ugly. It's 42 SCVs to 28 drones. This has become a close game where eXile was actually outclassing Hunter the entire time. But the engagement with those mass Widowmines in the center of the map just single-handedly turned things around. That, and as I said, the low drone count is sort of one of those cases where eXile has been shooting himself in the foot a bit. His economy never really got to where it should have been when he had Hunter at home with the Mutalisks here. As I pointed out earlier, if he drones up hard there because he knows that the main army of the Terran is at home, then he would put this away very, very quickly and easily. As again, in my opinion, he's shown himself to be the far better player. But a couple of slight oversights have resulted in this really scrappy game where he is now, in fact, in a really tough position. Widowmines take out more Zerglings. This bio is a bit overstimmed, to say the least. Now, there are 4 medevacs here, so they're going to help heal up considerably. Lots of Spine Crawlers. Ultralisk Cavern is complete, but there is no bank to make any Ultralisks. If Ultralisks do come into play, that could be a game changer. Without chitinous plating, not quite as much. But we'll have to see. One way or another, oh my, more Widowmine shots go off. I think that's actually going to be it. I was just about to say, if eXile can buy time for himself, then maybe he can try to push behind some Ultras. And this was almost entirely a Marine army. Of course, there were Widowmines, but Widowmines, they're not bad against Ultras. They're not really good. But the Marines will get eaten alive by the Ultras. So I was kind of hoping if eXile could buy time, then he could get out the Ultralisks. And I think he would have been able to end the game with them. But yeah, this is definitely one of those games where, like I said, eXile, in my opinion, is clearly the better player, played the better game, but shot himself in the foot with a very low drone count. And then, so that was number one, and I think that was the primary problem, because if the economy was where it should have been, this engagement at the middle of the map where the mass widow mines got off massive shots, that would have still been harmful, but with the proper economy, eXile would have been able to replenish and push. But so anyway, those were the two main factors: the unnecessarily weak economy, and then of course that really unfortunate engagement into the widow mines. But GG, yeah, it was a throw. Straight up, that was a throw. But hey, you've seen me stream enough, and I'm sure you've seen me throw more than once. It happens. But eXile, I actually thought you played well. It was like right up until the point where you sent your Mutalisks into his main, which was also a good move. Right up through that point, I thought you played really well. You were ahead in upgrades, you were ahead in bases, you were ahead in workers. You didn't have as many workers as you should have. I think the max I saw you hit was like prior to like toward the very end there, once he was already pushing. But while you had him in his base, I think you had like 41 or 42 drones, and you run 3 bases. So, and yes, I agree. So once the widow mines hit, it's kind of like everything just went to hell. But you played really well up until that point. Like I said a couple of times, when the Mutalisks are in his main and you see his full army of Marines chasing them, immediately that should signal to you, like, okay, worst case scenario, I might have to deal with a drop or two. But this is clearly his main army in his base, in his own base, defending, so I can make drones. But you live and you learn. Sometimes losing a game by throwing it offers the best opportunity to learn, even more so than losing like a close game, because it's like your mistakes are so clear. There's no controversy. Like, it's very clear what happened that game. So it's a concrete lesson. All right, I was ahead in every way, ahead in bases, ahead in workers, ahead in army supply, ahead in upgrades, and I have him in his base defending. So what should I do now? And in that case, of course, you had already shut down his Reapers long ago. You see his main army defending in his own base, so it's, okay, now I'm going to get my drone count up to where I want it to be, and I'm going to go up to Hive, or, you know, whatever you want, whatever the case may be. But you've got to make that next concrete decision to start putting the game away. Let's see. Losing a game by throwing also gives you the best chance to additionally throw your computer out the window. Hidden benefit. That's also a true story. But yeah, like I said, you've seen me stream quite a bit, and you've definitely seen me throw games. Happens to everybody. But very clear lesson to learn there. And about the engagement where you lost the units to the Widow Mines, you know, that just happens to everybody. There are games where that happens to pros. So it can happen to anyone. Not too much to learn there, except, as you already know, you've got to babysit your army, especially when you're going up against Widow Mines. I mean, it's real when you're against any splash damage, you always have to babysit your army, but still. That just, like I said, that just happens to everybody at all levels. Alright, let's get into the next one. Alright. In the top left-hand corner of the map, it's the red Zerg, eXile, and the bottom right, it's the blue Terran, Dr. Death. Yeah, eXile, I know what you mean. So, I will say, so as bad as your opponent's build was in that game, and it was as bad as a build can get, The one thing he did well was he did apply constant pressure. And you can't, like, to a certain degree, up to a certain level, you can make up for a bad build, or bad mechanics, or bad macro, etc., by putting your opponent under constant pressure. Because, of course, when you're under pressure, when you're under pressure, you're prone to make more mistakes yourself. It's actually the same concept in fighting, whether it's boxing or MMA. It's not always the guys with the best technique that win. In fact, so the top of the top, the best fighters are usually the ones who have superior technique. Not always, usually. But you can have professional fighters fighting at respectable levels, like in the UFC, or fighting in high-level boxing matches, who don't have great technique, but they're what are referred to as pressure fighters. They're just constantly moving forward, and their punches don't look pretty. They might eat a lot of punches themselves, but they constantly move forward and constantly throw punches, and they can beat fighters with better technique. So it's kind of it's the same exact concept here in StarCraft 2 with cheesers or people who might have a bad or a suboptimal build, but if they keep you under constant pressure, if they're relentlessly attacking and you start to panic, or you just it slips your mind to make overlords and you supply block yourself, or you forget to start your lair or whatever, if the pressure starts to occupy your mind, then you can lose to a player who's not as good as you, or I should say not as skilled as you are. Absolutely can happen, and that's what we saw happen. It can happen to anyone. So a really fast Baneling Nest here for eXile. Thus far in the games I've seen of eXile, usually the fast Baneling Nest is just for defensive purposes. Should find out pretty soon if that's the case in this game. On the Terran end, pretty standard here. You don't see this all the time. Reactor on the barracks and on the factory. Usually you would see a reactor go down here on the barracks and the factory will switch onto it. But it looks like Dr. Death actually wants... Is it double medevac? Be kind of crazy if you went double Viking right off the bat. Getting a tech lab on the factory. So probably going to see tank production there. I'm not really sure what... Okay, it is in fact double medevac. Interesting. Bit of musical add-ons. Should be seeing Stim here now and Hellion production. Widow Mine. That's a bit unusual. Okay, cancels the Widow Mine and goes into Hellions. And again, should be seeing that Stim. Scan sees double Evos, sees Speedlings. Unfortunately for Dr. Death, he does not see the lair timing. But still, seeing double Evos almost always is an indication that the Zerg is macroing. Unless they're kind of pulling a bluff, but that's pretty darn unusual. Overlord speed is so good. This might go down, might go down, might go down. Nope, I lied. It never goes down when it has Overlord speed. Did you think it was going to go down? Don't fool yourself. It will not go down. But yeah, I really think that Zerg should get a fast Overlord speed in pretty much every game where they're not going all in. So useful. Very full scout here for eXile. Third base is up. I was right, that was a defensive Baneling Nest, as there was no bust. Roach Warren going down. This could also be just defensive for the Hellions. It's quite possible. Overlord is finally killed, but only after scouting the entire Terran base. And we have a 2 medevac, we'll just call it a bio push. Another scan goes down, kind of a strange position, not gonna lie. Sees the army, but he already knew about these Evo chambers. Drop is pushed away. Nice drone pull, so nothing of worth lost there. Actually, I was delaying his push. He was distracted by my overlord. Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, yeah, either way, like I said, that was it's a good job there on your part getting the overlords in there. And you did, in fact, delay his push. Got a complete scout. Pushed away his drop with minimal losses. And this is a really good position for eXile. Planetary at the natural is not the best decision because you really are sacrificing on economy when you do that. Sacrificing on scans, of course, too, as the game goes later and the creep spread starts to push out, but we're not quite there yet. But the sacrifice on economy, losing those mules, definitely hurts. So I would not recommend a planetary at the natural for anyone. The only time I've seen people do it and it actually makes sense is in the most obnoxious games that you can possibly play, where the Terran goes straight for mass ravens, in which case I just don't think you should play the game anyway. But hey. Have another scan going down on the natural again. I'm a little bit confused by this, to be honest. I think that Dr. Death should scan the main at some point. He's missing out on a lot of tech. Pretty much all of the tech, as a matter of fact. Seeing Lair and seeing Hydralisk Den are really important for him. It's going to let him know that he needs to get out more tanks. Mass Raven just sounds like cancer. Yeah, it really is. In my opinion, it's the most frustrating, lamest composition in the game, bar none. Unfortunately, it belongs to my race. But Mech Terrans really are they're a breed of their own. They don't like to associate with Bio Terrans, and Bio Terrans, to be honest, I think look down on a lot of Mech Terrans. But hey, I think Mech Terrans look down. Mech Terrans tend to look down on everybody. They think they play this like superior style of game. But anyway, we could go into that more at a later point. Another good follow-up scout there. Sees pretty much everything. Yep. I would say just about everything. By the way, eXile, so there's a lot of conversation going on right now about the Raven. We'll call it a change, because some people, in certain scenarios, it's actually a buff, which I don't like. The duration got buffed. The damage got nerfed. But overall, over the course of the auto turret's lifespan, if we can call it that, it actually does more damage, slightly more damage. But I think it's if you would pull your workers really fast with the old auto turret, then you would avoid damage. In that scenario now, though, it's actually buffed. Because if you pull workers and just wait for it to die, it lasts longer. So you have to deal with it now. And also, as far as things like mass auto turrets go, I think they're as strong as ever. Well, actually, I mean, they are actually stronger. So, yeah, it's a bit strange. I'm not really a fan of the change, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. I'm not optimistic about it. I wasn't optimistic when they announced it. Wasn't enough of a nerf, in my opinion, because, well, it's in certain situations it's actually not a nerf. So yeah, and I think the last thing that it needed was to be buffed. Anyway. Hive coming in at a pretty good time here, and I really like this. I'll say this. eXile is doing really well here. Already getting a 5th base up, and just this magnificent map vision too. So this is just a really nice setup right now for eXile. Dr. Death's going to have his work cut out for him. 2/2 already for the Roach Hydra. +2 Carapace, obviously, for the Banelings, for the Ling Bane. And it would appear as though Dr. Death is content right now just to sit in his base. This game was after the last one that you lost? Okay, cool. That's actually pretty cool to see the very next game, see how you responded. And so far, playing really well. Look at this supply advantage. And I know, yeah, supply doesn't tell the whole story, but I mean, the fact of the matter is that supply usually tells most of the story. Usually, most. And in this case, it definitely tells the story of this game. Upgrade advantage, in favor of eXile. Supply advantage, vastly in favor of eXile. Worker advantage, vastly in favor of eXile. So every single advantage right here belongs to eXile. Throwing away these lings like this, I'm not sure it's worth getting into the main base. I mean, if this was for like a crucial scout, then maybe it would be. And of course, lings aren't very, you know, they are the most expendable unit in the game anyway, so it's not a big deal. But maybe just poking in here, pulling the army out of position, pulling back, while sending these forces into the main. Maybe that could work. But who knows? Actually, eXile, now that I think about it, eXile may have just been freeing up supply with those Zerglings, because they're not going to do anything at this point. Okay, so yeah, I was right. So eXile saying he probably shouldn't have made that many lings. I agree. But, you know, in the end, it actually works out well, because they, at that point, they are pretty much dead supply. But probably could have tried to get a little bit done with them. Like I said, just at least like try to poke here, get this army over there. As soon as you see the army respond, you have your second army go in. You know, something like that. Try to get a little value out of them rather than just straight up throw them away. But either way, I don't think it's going to be a big deal, because as I noted, every advantage that can possibly be had in this game is actually had right now by eXile. These locusts are going to come in. I'm not sure if are they focusing the planetary? Yes, they are, and they do get it. They are pretty freaking powerful. They're also upgraded pretty well, so yeah, that's going to help. Looks like Dr. Death is finally going to push out. I'm not sure this is a good idea, just because he was turtling this entire time. And generally, when you're turtling up, you only push out once you max out. So yeah, pushing out at 148 supply against a Roach Ravager Hydra Swarm Host army kind of goes like this. Like that. That's not very good for the Terran. That's fantastic for eXile. That's like when your neighbor comes over and, you know, just because they're a good neighbor, they're a nice person, they just walk up to your door and knock and say, "Look at this blueberry pie I baked for you." And that's what Dr. Death did there. He walked across the map. He's like, "Hey, look at this nice little 148 supply army." Well, I guess it wasn't 148 supply army, but you get my point. He's like, "Look at this nice little army I made for you. Here, I'm not maxed out. I'm not really using this right now. I've been sitting in my base all game, so take it." With the random poison hiding it, yeah. Yeah, no such thing as nice neighbors nowadays. Gotta be on your toes for that. Kids, don't accept blueberry pies from strangers. That's the moral here. Ooh, the burrow, I like it. I missed it on the production tab. But yes, I do like this. I like the Greater Spire coming in. I like the 3/3 that is finishing pretty much when the Terran 3/3 is starting. Heck yeah, man. You sound rather practiced with this. Sounds like you've had an experience. Wait, am I crazy, or is this a Hydralisk skin that I didn't know about? Am I crazy? Maybe I just never really paid attention to how Hydralisks looked? I see that this is a Ravager skin. Is this a Hydralisk skin? Please tell me in chat. Am I being stupid? Anyway, holy locusts. This is a plague if I've ever seen one. No Hydra skin. Okay, that's like the first time I've ever really looked closely at Hydras since I started playing the game at the end of Wings of Liberty. It is in fact a Ravager skin. I do know that. Oh, Roach skin as well? Really? Oh yeah, I guess so with those huge claws. Planetary Fortress is taken out, and by the way, that's really bad news for Dr. Death, whose name is beginning to sound more and more ominous with each passing minute. But bad news, for one thing, because he has no economy. For another thing, he doesn't have enough army to survive until a point in the game when he can get an economy again. He's going to go up against Lurkers, against Locusts, against Roach Ravager. And I think at this point in the game, eXile could probably win with any one of these units, groups of units, individually. He could probably win with Hydras. He could probably win with Roaches. He could probably win with Lurkers. He could definitely win with Swarm Hosts. Bio has a dream. The dream is not fully realized. They came so close. eXile's going to push away this army. Bile zone it. Only a handful of Hydras here, so not really going to be able to take out the Medivacs. But eXile has gotten himself to a point in this game where he can kill Dr. Death whenever he wants. I'm not sure if he realizes that. Once he comes up here and sees that there's no third on location, that's when you should realize, okay, this guy is dead. Lurkers burrow. Start getting to work. Start getting to lurk. Scans going down, but that's like the most depressing feeling when you scan the Lurkers, but you aren't actually able to kill them. It's like, I see you, I can't do anything about it, but I do see you. Locust's going to come in and start picking away at the infrastructure of the Terran. A point defense drone goes down. That's like one of the most hopeless things I've ever seen. SCV's doing nothing. Nothing at all. And now we just play the starve out game. We've got 10k minerals and nearly 5k gas for eXile. This game is over. Locusts picking away the last vestiges of the Terran base, the Terran army for that matter. Does the Overlord see? Not quite. Moral victory for the small bio squadron. I think they got a swarm host, maybe even two. But they will promptly be pushed away. At this point, I want to see the killer instinct come out of eXile. You know you have your opponent on the ropes. You know he's bleeding heavily. He can barely stand. Both of his hands are broken. His nose is broken. You've got to put the guy out of his misery at this point here. I want to see you develop that killer instinct, eXile. You've got this bank. Hell, you could A-move all of your units at him at this point, and even if he somehow survives, you can just keep remaxing and flooding him time after time. Good song, by the way. You think this is where you tried? Okay, yeah. Like I said, I definitely want to see you. Definitely want to see you put that killer instinct into action here, because your map vision, as always, is really good. You know, you just came from this base here. You know he doesn't have any ninja bases. He's been long distance mining here for forever. So you could actually just trade after trade after trade, and you could trade at like half the efficiency as your opponent. But with this bank, you can literally A-move him out of the game. Broodlord's being morphed in, and these, oh son, look at that. These are the aquatic Broodlords. Oh my goodness, these look so cool. Wow. These look freaking amazing. Dang, I think I have to get this. I think I'm gonna get it actually, like today. That looks so freaking cool. I actually forgot what I was saying before this, but it wasn't as important as these Broodlord skins. Those are freaking phenomenal. Oh, dang it. Come on, are you serious? Right, well, I'm here talking about how awesome the Broodlord skins are, and this son of a bitch goes and picks off the Greater Spire. That's just BM. And denying +3 as well? What the heck? Alright, Dr. Death, just die already. Seriously. I was so excited to see more of these. What a jerk. These boys need to get to work. They must be Union drones. Got 20 of them standing around while one of them goes over here and starts building a spire. They're all talking about that poor bastard who actually had to work, while they all just stand there getting paid and fed by the Overmind. Dude, I can't get over this. These look so freaking cool. These, are these the broodlings, by the way? These look horrifying. They look like enlarged sperm / manta rays. But the Broodlords are freaking awesome. I'm definitely getting this today. So we've got no mining whatsoever at the natural, no mining whatsoever at the main. One base economy here, and that one base is an orbital, so as soon as eXile attacks into this, that location will fall. Much like Minas Tirith in The Lord of the Rings. Because Osgiliath gets overrun too. So we're about to see third base gets overrun. And we should be seeing GG pretty shortly here. As soon as Dr. Death wants to come to grips with his terminal illness. He has officially been infested. He's getting Kerriganed right now. Straight up. Dude, yeah, those Broodlords are awesome. Blizzard should pay you a commission, because I'm getting them just because I saw this game. Good game, well played. That was actually a really good game. In all honesty, it was over for about the past 15 minutes. But it was just a really well played game. So whereas in the previous game, eXile played well in the opening, like for the first half of the game, and then just kind of fell apart under the pressure. In this game, it was actually a really good job of just playing it solidly from beginning to end. And really just outclassed his opponent the whole way. No need to apologize, man. No need to apologize. I'm only pointing out the fact that it was over for so long, just so that you so you recognize it, and then in in your games, you evaluate a situation like that where you've done a great job. You've covered the entire map with your vision. Your Overlord scouted every single base. You saw that he was long distance mining from his third. So, like I said, I'm just pointing it out so you see, like, hey, this guy cannot possibly have an economy. I can actually just trade everything I have for him over and over again, and there's nothing he can do about it. But no need to apologize whatsoever. It's a good game. Yeah, dude, you're definitely a Zerg at heart, wanting to torture the poor human. All right, is that all of... Yes, it is. That is all of eXile's games. I think... Okay, no, there's one more here. So let's do this. And what I'm going to do this time, I think when I upload, I'm going to upload these ones in chunks. We'll do like one upload for the 4 eXile games, do one upload for the Brogue game, one for the Nakamura game, and then one for the 2 Jiggy games. And I can't forget, I still have that one Florencio game that I had forgotten from earlier. All right, so let's get into the final eXile game, ZVZ. I'm having fun casting, by the way. And also, thank you for sending a game where you lost. I asked, like everyone who sends me in games, I ask for some losses to be mixed in. Not because I want to see you lose, but as I said before, it makes it so much fresher for me to cast. If I'm only casting games where you win, it's not quite as interesting for me because... You know, if I know the conclusion of the game before it starts, then I can't put as much energy into it. So mixing in a loss or two makes it so that, you know, number one, I have to pay more attention to the game. I've got to pay close attention to the game and really try and figure out what's going on instead of just knowing that, oh, well, no matter what happens here, I know that he wins because he's only sending me wins. So thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I really do appreciate that. Like I said, makes it a lot more interesting for me. Because actually, I thought in that game you were going to win. Which made it, you know, really surprising when he, even like kind of right up to the end, I knew the Ultralisk Cavern was down. So I was still thinking, like, maybe he can push the Terran army away just long enough to get out some Ultralisks and hang on. But yeah, so it kept me guessing right up until the end. So that's great. All right, as we have a gas steal here, let's get our introductions underway before things get too crazy. In the bottom right-hand corner of the map, having his gas stolen, there it is eXile. His opponent in the top left, the gas stealer, the thief, Nitro. He's probably one of these dudes who, as a gas thief, prior to gas stations making it so you had to prepay every single time you got gas, he was probably one of those pieces of garbage who, you know, went up, got his gas, and just hit the road. And he's like, wow, you mean I can do the same thing in video games too? And there he goes. Look, a second time. Now that I think about it, like, this can't be too effective in ZVZ, right? Yeah, oh, okay, wow, right? I just dated myself, I know, man. Yeah, it's like right when I first started driving, like the first year that I had my license is when they changed that over. But yeah, back in the day, man. Back in the day. So this would have been, what, like, I don't know, 12 years ago? Something like that. So I got my license late. I just never really felt a need to get it. I got it pretty late. I got it at 18. But yeah, it was like, during that first year that I had my license, they made that change. So where everywhere had to be that you prepaid. Nice block here from eXile, by the way. Excellent block from eXile. I'm wondering if we will see... Okay, yeah, I was going to say, how many, basically, are we going to see canceled? All three. Really good defense there from eXile. But yeah, so eXile, going back to what I was saying before, too, about the gas steal. Right as I was saying, I don't think this is worth it in ZVZ. I saw what you said in chat. You said you don't need that gas, so it's a waste of 25 minerals. Yeah. Because, I mean, unless, like... I mean, there really aren't even any... Okay, I'm sure somebody at some point has done a one base all in where you use 2 gases, but in over 99% of the games, that's never going to be the case. If you're doing a one base all in, it's going to be off of 1 gas. Again, 99% of the time. And the only time something like this gas steal would come into play would be if you're doing something like a 2 base muta, but by the time you get up to lair, you're certainly, or you know, by the time you actually want to take the gas, you certainly are going to have enough units to clear it. So it's not really accomplishing anything. It's not delaying anything. Maybe if he did a double gas steal, maybe that would be worth it. But even then, you'd be sacrificing 2 drones and tons of lost mining time for the walk across the map. So yeah, I don't think that gas steals in ZVZ are really a thing. They're not really a thing in TVT either. I've actually had it happen to me a couple of times, and like it can work. But most of the time not. Just because, well, first of all, you have a Marine, you have a ranged unit who can kill the SCV while it's building the refinery, so it's just hard to do. Nope. Nice job so far pushing these roaches away. The drone pool also, I think, is necessary, so good management of the defense thus far. Once this 3rd spine crawler gets up, eXile should be in good shape. Like, you really don't need it until you get lair around 4 minutes. Exactly, yeah. Then you just go 3-hatch gasless. You can go 3-hatch gasless, yeah. Yes, that's kind of what I thought. But there is a lair now here for Nitro. I'm going to call him Nitro. I don't know what this Nitro is. Maybe it's a way of saying Nitro in a different language, and I don't know it. I speak 4 languages. I don't know how to say Nitro in Spanish, Russian, or Portuguese. I've never heard anyone say Nitro to me, and I've never said it myself. So maybe this is a way to say Nitro in another language. I don't know. Anyway, good defense here from eXile. All around good defense. And not too surprising. eXile tends to play a pretty solid game, and this is why I'm confident that eXile is going to get up to Diamond 3 within the next season or 2. That's my prediction. So this, though, I will point out, this is definitely trouble. The low drone count is definitely trouble right here. So we actually have 3 bases for eXile and only 2 for Nitro. But Nitro has the vastly superior drone count, so that is cause for concern. Now, these roaches might be able to do some damage. Might, if they get around this roach force, but if they're both going across the middle of the map, I don't think it's going to happen. We actually have Burrow being researched for Nitro. Lair now coming down for eXile. Still no gas saturation just yet at the natural. And this kind of goes back to that low drone count. We have +1 attack roaches against 0/0 roaches, so this definitely will go eXile's way, considering the numbers were actually quite similar. Overlord getting a good scout off on the natural. I don't believe... Yeah, eXile does not yet know about the lair. Nice surround here from eXile. Great job blocking off these roaches. This could be critical damage sustained by Nitro. And of course, with this maneuver, eXile is scouting the Mutalisks as well. So by the way, for anyone who saw the game that I cast, the live cast I did last night with Brogue against Nakamura, I commented on exactly this. If the Roach army is just sitting at home and the Mutalisk player gets into the Roach player's base, it's going to be GG. Like pretty much automatically for the Roach player. However, if the Roach player gets the scout off on the Mutalisk player's side of the map, then there's hope. because there's going to be time to throw down spore crawlers, and the roaches might even be able to get some damage done. In this case, they were not quite able to get damage done, but they got off the scout with enough time for spore crawlers to be thrown down. I would like to see at least one spore here, or else that base could fall. And this is a really good job here by eXile, pulling back all of the Mutalisks, buying himself even more time, starting to get up a Spire of his own, and finally adding on some more drones. He still had a really, really low drone count, and that is the only problem that I see for him so far in this game. His third base has actually been up for a long time now, but this low worker count is just, it's really crippling. He's not able to get a sufficient bank to produce units as he should. Lings again going to get up into the main this time. Mutalisk's going to pick off this base if they so choose. If they come into the main, that's not going to go quite as well for them. There are 3 spore crawlers going down already. Or I'm sorry, down already, and a Spire on the way, as well as a Hydralisk then. But again, the bank is not big for eXile at all, and I don't want to see this. I really hope this isn't another case of eXile kind of shooting himself in the foot with a low drone count. Not much eXile can do about this right now. He is getting out Hydralisks, put a lot of his resources into getting out those Hydras. If Nitro overextends into some spore crawlers, I think the 8 Hydras can clean it up. But the biggest priority right now is for eXile to get its economy where it needs to be. It's going to be really hard, though, with all of this pressure. I think now Nitro might finally come back and focus down the third base, killing some more drones. Yeah, third base is definitely going down. And we do already have significant mining occurring at the third base of Nitro, who, all things considered, is actually at a relatively low drone count himself. That's not very many drones for 3 bases. As we can see, not quite full saturation here. Full saturation here, but only because this base is at half of its mining capacity, and at less than half mining here. So yeah, 47 drones on 3 bases is not a lot. So that just kind of puts into perspective how few 30 are. I really hope eXile is able to push these Mutalisks away. It looks like he will be able, but to get that drone count up, and I'd like to see him get into a mid-game here where he can properly fight Nitro's army with a sizable army of his own. But it's not going to happen on this drone count. Infestation Pit going down, oh my, and 38 Zerglings for Nitro. Bless me, excuse me, whatever. So the only upgrades researched so far in this game are the +1 attack for eXile's Hydralisks. No upgrades on the Zerglings, no upgrades on the Mutalisks. Muscular augments being researched now for eXile. That will certainly help out. The supply lead is very significant. I'm not going to call the game just yet. I don't think it's over. If eXile can engage these Lings in a choke point and then catch the Mutalisks with his Hydras, he might be able to come back into it. Obviously, this is very much in Nitro's favor right now. I don't know how this is going to go. Okay, the Hydras are just enough to push away the Lings, so that's a good start. That's about as good of a start as eXile can get right there. Could not have gone better. Okay, the Roaches, though. The Roaches being added into this. That's good. They're going to pose a huge problem, and especially before the +2 missile attacks finishes up. I don't know how eXile is going to hold this. Again, though, he's off to a good start. Some of these Hydralisks are kind of running around at the back, and they're not firing. Good repositioning here from eXile, trying to draw Nitro into the Spine Crawler. Each unit right now is precious for eXile. 16 more Mutalisks coming out. And 60 drones to 34. So everything just keeps coming back to that problem. And incidentally, it's not just because there's no third base, because even when the third base was up, the drone count was still super low. And eXile actually got his third base long before Nitro, if I recall correctly. But definitely something that eXile needs to be aware of. These really low drone counts. With everything else, like his spending is good. He spends his money. He doesn't let it bank up. He gets up, as far as his build is concerned, he gets to the tech that he wants pretty quickly. He actually gets his bases pretty quickly. He's just not saturating them well enough. And see, this is exactly what I'm talking about here. It's like with everything else, eXile is doing well. The Achilles heel seems to be knowing the proper drone count. But if he can take this engagement here, he can't lose any units. If he can take this engagement here, he might have a chance to push and do some damage. Just might. At the very least, he should be able to take his fourth. He is, in fact, now picking off Mutalisk after Mutalisk. Is eXile pulling himself back into this game? If he does, this will be an incredible comeback. He so desperately needs a fourth base. His main base is almost completely mined out. Still has a lot of gas here, but other than that, this portion is almost completely mined out. This base is getting really low. Still has a decent amount of gas, but actually a lot of gas, but the minerals are getting low. The next base must be taken as soon as possible. It's still, it's such a low drone count. Such a low drone count. This is hurting so much for eXile. eXile is setting up to push. In terms of army supply, he's being doubled. He does have superior upgrades. It's +2 attack to nothing, but I don't think even that is going to be enough. There's actually a surround here for Nitro, and that will be enough to force the GG. So this is going to be another one of those games where I'm gonna classify it in the same category as the Defender's Landing ZVT, where eXile outplayed his opponent. And look at that. That's a mirror matchup where eXile was ahead by over 4,000 resources. So to me, a game like this, I think, should be considered more encouraging than discouraging. Because it's with you're doing more with less, with much less. You're smarter about the engagements that you're taking. Like with your positioning, you're getting your upgrades. Got up good defense for the mutas. Should have had a spore crawler here, but aside from that, it was good defense for the mutas. It's just that low drone count. That's it. The low drone count is just brutal. What's up, Haggis? Good to see you, man. And eXile, I do think if you would have gotten up this fourth base, stayed at home, like not committed the army, maybe poke but not commit, you may have been able to come back. But yeah, it's really just coming down to that low drone count that is just killing you. Killed you in the ZVT on Defender's Landing and here again. But like I said, the good news is you're doing so many other things right. So that can't get lost in the mix. So another good game.